Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Rebuild It. This week we're going to start with the tear down of our 2001 Porsche Boxster that you saw us go get last week in Atlanta. And who knows, if we go deep enough in this thing with its Volkswagen heritage, we might even find some Fahrwerk mobile. Alright, so one of the first things I want to do, since I've got the Porsche down in the shop, is I've got the battery charging. It's been charging for all night, and I just want to get this thing cleaned up, like vacuum out the trunk and the frunk and clean the interior really good, get all this Copart gravel and junk vacuumed out of there, and just kind of make sure I don't see anything else weird as I'm cleaning it up. I don't know if I mentioned this the other day, there's definitely some hail damage on this car. There's like a big old, I don't know if you can see it. So I've got to decide, do I want to just get rid of that lid and buy another one and paint it? Or do I want to try to fix all the hail damage? I don't see any, I see one on the piece that raises up for the top to go in, but I don't see any on like the fenders, the doors. I don't know how you can be in a hailstorm and not have damage all over unless these curved pieces are made out of a heavier gauge steel or something. That could be.
Wow.
Got the trunks vacuumed out, cleaned out. One of my favorite little tidbits of this car is the hand grenade air freshener. Also, I'm kind of wondering what the steering wheel looks like. Usually when people put those on there, it means the steering wheel's nasty. Not super bad. Seen a lot worse. That's good. I was working on cleaning the inside. I got this one seat, the leather all conditioned on it and stuff. I got thinking I really probably ought to check and make sure that top retracts. Besides, there's a bunch of gravel and stuff down in there. I don't know how that gets in there. Once I try opening the top, this little lid will flip up and then I can suck all that out with a shop vac. So let's try that, because that's the only other big expense I know of that if that didn't work, that would be a major problem. So let's start it up real quick and see if this thing comes up. All right, so I've got all that cleaned out. So let's see if this thing continues on and goes down all the way right. Looks like it all closed correctly, and so we've got a roll bar back here and a windscreen. Top is in really good shape. So that's pretty cool. So now I can reach everything a lot easier and get everything cleaned up. Okay, so I have this thing clean on the inside. And I mean, it looks decent. It's pretty rough. I mean, it is 20 years old. This is an 01, so like all the plastics are pretty scratched up, just from use. The seats are in really good shape. Got them all conditioned. The carpets are all in good shape and stuff. The dash, everything's good up there. It's just anything that their hands were touching, like all around there, it's just scratched up. They had long fingernails or something. So I'll just have to decide, like, after we get it running or after we get it driving and all put back together, it's like, it's got 103,000 miles on it. So how much money do I really want to spend, making it look really good on the inside? If I want to keep it just for fun, then I might change that center console out or something, or it definitely needs new visors. These are both of these are broken, both sides, so I'll find new ones of those. But other than that, this inside is decent. So
hey guys, it's time to pick a winner for the t-shirt contest from last week's video. All you had to do to be entered in to win was just comment down in the comment section below. Let's head on down and pick our random winner. And the winner for this week's video is Sean Walters, who said, can't wait, looking forward to the Porsche rebuild and the vet wrap-up. Thanks, Sean. Just send us your name and your contact information, and we'll get a t-shirt sent out to you. Congratulations.
all right, so tonight I'm going to start getting this thing disassembled. First step would be to take this carpet out of the front half of this thing, and that will expose the hole that we need to remove this headlight. And if it's like I think it is, this is a really cool way to take these off. So hopefully it is, and I'll show you how I do it. Right behind this plug, and right behind there is a bolt, which is a 5mm socket will fit on that. Or Porsche gives you a headlight removal tool, which I can't believe is still in there. And you put this in here. It's right up on there like that. And on this side, I believe you turn it counterclockwise until you hear it click right there. Okay, so that releases it. Let's see if it really did it. Yeah, check that out. I mean, you know how hard it is to get the lights out off regular United States vehicles? And this whole headlight just slides right out. So then that gives you access to all the bolts and stuff to get the bumper off and help to get the fender off. But what I did when I moved this tool, that twists this thing right here, and that just locks into this little thing right here on the bottom of the headlight, and that's what locks it into place. So really cool design. I know everybody talks about German over engineering, but that is simple. Okay, so get the carpet out. Now we can really see the extent of the damage to this tub. Here is what it's supposed to look like. Nice, round, smooth curve there. See the angle here. And over here, there's that angle that is supposed to be up. And there's our smooth round curve. So that's going to take a lot. That's going to take some force. Alright, so the front bumper is off. And now I can really see like a lot of the stuff that is missing on that other side. This whole plastic piece right here that channels the air into the radiators. There's radiators on this side too. And I've always heard that those things clog up with like lots of leaves and debris and stuff. So we need to take this off while we're in here and clean all that out, wash all the radiators out and stuff. And looks like this plastic piece here, I'm not sure, I know I have to replace that, but I'm not sure. I think that's a separate piece from this one. So that's missing. We have to replace this, and then we have to find that whole piece there. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a hammer and go ahead and start tapping around on this area over here to see how hard it is to move the metal. I don't know what gauge it is. It doesn't look real thick, but I know that this area right here needs to be like pushed back. As you can see on this side, we almost have a curve that kind of comes out a little bit before it comes in. It's almost like the hood kind of, you can see how the hood curves out. So we're kind of matching that curve a little bit right there. So we have to make sure that we get that same curve, just a very slight out before it starts turning in. So if I do that now with the fender still on, I can kind of gauge, you know, how close we are to getting back in line. So. Okay, so I've been beating on it a little bit, and I've got it. The metal is not just really super tough, so it does bend up pretty easily. So I really need to do some stud welding right here to try to pull that out, because there's no way to get around the back side of that. I did get it up quite a bit, but in order to see exactly what it's like on this other side, I need to go ahead and remove this bracket here. Okay, so we can kind of see now that I've got all that plastic off, what needs to happen. You can see how that's made right here. It's just comes out to that point, square, and it's just flat from there down. Ours needs to come up higher right there, and then we'll work on just flattening this out. Like that's caved in right there. We can flatten that out pretty easily, I think. Hardest part's going to be getting this up, and I think it's down a little bit right here where the whole thing was pushed down. If we can get it all up, really this right here is just cosmetic because it doesn't do anything. As long as we have this right here up high, and all that does is hold that little plastic trim piece on. But we do want it to look straight, you know, so just keep on working on it. All right, so my next step is to go ahead and get that fender off if I can figure it out, and so I can see more kind of what's back up in here, because I'm going to need to do some stud welds on there and try to pull that some more, but the fender's just in my way. So let's jack it up and get the fender liner off and see what's involved and pulling that all out. Finally got that fender off. That's probably the hardest fender I've ever had to take off. That was very involved. There's hidden bolts all over the place. The only hidden damage I saw back in there is this broken line here. I don't know what that is, like a evap line or something. But thankfully Sarah at Salvage Yard got us this other one. Yep, that's the broken one, so I've got it. All right, the next thing I'd really like to accomplish on the car is to get it running and just make sure everything's mechanically okay with it, let it run for a while. I can't do that till I get the cooling system all put back together. So I've got one damaged line here. See this smash spot right here? I'm kind of worried that that's going to be an issue. It might not be. It's not broke, but it was also hit right here. So Sarah at the Salvage Yard gave me another one of these, or I bought one from her, one of these lines. So in order to access it, looks like it goes down through there and around and goes up and all the way through and back down to right there. So it has to be snaked around a bunch of stuff. So we have to remove this anyway because it's broke. So that bracket, it goes around that bracket. We'll take that off, and then we'll see how we can get this thing untangled in there, and then replace that line, and then we'll replace this thing, and then we'll start putting the cooling system back on. All right, so I've got this AC line off everywhere. There it is, like that. I've got it off of everything except for where it goes down to this right here, and I cannot get this screw loose right here. So about snapped a Allen wrench even trying to loosen it up. So I'm gonna have to do the thing I hate to do on this. I'm gonna have to heat that up, an aluminum fitting. And so I'm gonna have to put some kind of a plate, some steel plate or something behind there so I don't get this line right here hot. And then these have like a rubber, like see this one right here has like a rubber seal or O-ring around there. So it could potentially melt that in there. So I have other ones, like I can take this one off. There should be another one in here I could get out of there and use if that gets too hot. But it's the only way I know to do to try to break that loose. So I'll put a heat shield in there, get it hot, and then I'll just keep trying to break it free. Well, the heat did it finally. Put a lot on there, but I never did get it hot enough to hurt anything. So, I mean, I can touch it. Here's the bolt that was, look how corroded that is on the top part where how that aluminum kind of breaks down. So that thing was just like part of the fitting there. So I'll make sure that's good and clean, and I'll put some oil that you put in a condenser when you get ready to put the Freon in it. I'll put some of that on there just to lube that up good on all these connections. And then we'll just go ahead and put our new line in through there, and then we can start putting this back together. All right, so I've got the AC line correctly routed there, back to where it goes. And that's ready to hook back up to the condenser. So next, I think we'll go ahead and put that evac stuff back on there. The box right here and all these lines. And then we'll make sure all the wiring is routed in the right spots. And then I guess we can start putting on brackets. We gotta put this piece right here back on. I'll clean it up first, make sure it looks new again. And mount that goes right back up under here. So let's get all that done real quick. All right, so all that stuff is connected where it's supposed to be. We will go ahead and get this bracket. This is the bracket that holds the cooling system over on this side, the radiator and everything. Also, the cooling system that I got from the salvage yard. I took it outside and washed it all out, cleaned it up really good. So that's the radiator. There's the fan, and here's the condenser. So We'll get all that put back together and get it installed, and then hopefully start putting some fluid in this thing. Check for leaks. I'm gonna take off this cover on the side of these radiators over here, because one of the things that everybody always talks about on these Porsches is that they get that down in there, and if you let that sit in there and rot, it will cause little pinholes in the radiator or the condenser or whatever it's up against. So we'll take this cover off and suck all that out, make sure it's good and clean while we're thinking about it. Okay, so while I'm waiting on a few things to dry, I'm going to go ahead and get this cooling system put back together. And then also, I went ahead and laid the new fender up on here to see, in case I have to do some more beating and banging before I install all that cooling system and take a chance on damaging something. I just set it up here to see how my holes lined up. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put some screws in on these top ones here, get them lined up. So you see how they line up just right through there. Then when we get down here to the damage section, we're still good, and then we're off with half a hole right here. But what I want to do is put a couple screws in these top holes, and then hit the tub over this way, probably a 1/8 of an inch to a 1/4, maybe down low, enough to get these holes all lined up. That way we're not beating on stuff after we get all the mechanical stuff installed. So we'll do that real quick. Okay, so just a few little whacks on there, and look at that. Holes are lined up, so I think we're good on that, and we're even good on the up and down. I mean, the curve fits right. We won't know for sure until we get the hood put on there, but I mean, that's up against it. So I'd say we're good on that. We'll take that back off and keep going on the coolant. All right, so all that stuff is installed. I got the AC lines connected, all the hoses, power. This stuff right here is all these plugs here are all lights, so I don't need that. I need one more clip to go right here that I don't have. But everything else is connected, so what we need to do now is go ahead and put some antifreeze in there. Actually, we're not going to use antifreeze, we're just going to use distilled water, because we're just checking for leaks and everything, and it needs to be flushed anyway, because who knows how long that antifreeze has been in there. So you can see our angles of the radiators are the same. Let's put some fluid in there and then get it back down on some wheels and start it and back it out. All right, so I've got it back down on the ground, and the way you fill up the radiators on this car are in the rear trunk. Open. Right in this spot here. So what we need to do first is take both of those, the oil cap and the radiator, or the antifreeze cap, off, and get this little plate off. There's a bleed valve up underneath there that we need to get to. So okay, so here's what we're trying to get to. This is the bleeder valve, so we need to pop this up. You're gurgling down there. So, and here is the level that we're going to be getting to. And like I said, we're just going to put distilled water in there. Make sure if you're doing this, you don't use regular tap water or well water or anything like that. It's got to be distilled because that won't tear up any of the aluminum stuff in there. So we'll just start pouring in. I have no idea. They might be completely empty. We'll just see. We'll pour it in there until we get something on here, and then we'll start it up and let it get the temperature and try to get the bubbles out of it. Okay, so I put about 1.5 gallons in there, and we got to the top of the throat here. And I just put this cap back on there loosely, and I've left this bleeder valve up. And with that clear water, you can't see, couldn't see it on the gauge at all. So we're just gonna let it run, and hopefully it'll start gurgling and the water level will go down, and we can get it up to temperature. All right, let's start this thing up. First time started with all the guts back in it. Keep forgetting that this ignition is on the left side of the steering wheel. I'm sorry, we seem to have ran out of time, but we'll continue this exciting episode in 2 weeks because next week is the finale ZR1 episode that everybody's been waiting for. So we'll see you next time, and give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this episode, and share us with your friends, and we really appreciate you watching. See you next time.
And always remember, don't retire it if you can rebuild it. See you guys next week. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in and watching this week's episode of Rebuild It. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any awesome content. Have a good one.